quick side project that I did in between getting ready for school and getting ready to buy the last few parts of robot stuff. And my dog Nick here is very intrigued by what the hell's going on, but I'll be scared. But anyways, the goal is to make a motorized surfboard. My mother is a bit of a seamstress. She makes clothing for various pageant people, and there happens to be a little boy that is entering these contests, and one of his numbers is he has to be a Hawaiian swimmer. And so he wanted a board, that electric surfboard that he could ride on and stand out for the competition kind of thing. So I essentially went out to make an electric skateboard turn into a surfboard. This is a foamy surfboard on top. Usually I think it's started at like 6 foot at least. Bought on Amazon pretty cheap. I had to cut it to shrink it down so it would be smaller because it's a small stage that they're on. It has to be motorized. And since the boy is supposed to be presenting himself in a particular way, we made it wireless. So a little wireless controller that actually powers the motorized skateboard that's inside. So you pull the trigger and it goes. Now it hasn't been full throttle or anything, but you get the idea. Now I'm weighing way too much to be on this thing. This thing is supposed to support about 150 pounds, the skateboard itself, motorized skateboard itself. The surfboard is basically has a HDPE on the bottom. It's a plastic liner, very thin, and then a outer coating, a little bit more dense foam. But the inside is just straight styrofoam pressed. So when I first stood on the surfboard when it was a whole, I actually put some heel prints in it pretty bad. I weigh a little too much for this stuff. Anyways, so what I did here was, you can see the two cuts. I tried to hide them as best as possible as epoxy together. I wanted to make it so that when the project was done, and the pageant, you know, because they go through routines, when they were done with their season or what have you, he'd be able to have a recreational toy, basically an electric skateboard. So the board actually isn't glued or screwed directly into the surfboard, and since it's just styrofoam, there wasn't much of a way to keep it intact. So you might be wondering, well, how did I attach it? Basically, if you look underneath, you have the basic components of the skateboard, and if I actually just flip it over, you can see basically the cuts in the bottom that I made, and it just hugs the actual board of the skateboard with the bottom layer of a little bit of styrofoam and the HDPE. So that is just hugging it in there to keep it on. And the reason why this thing is really heavy because it has SLA batteries in it. The particular skateboard company that I got this from, basically they, you know, for safety reasons, the only thing they could really go to is lithium polymer for the cheapest price. They're looking into lithium iron phosphate, like A123s, which would be amazing, and I would love if I had enough extra to put something in this because it would make it so much lighter. It'd be, you know, simple to charge, but that's the goal. Is, you know, they're not electronically sound, and since I'm not operating it, I have to make sure that the client itself is able to easily charge it. So their SLAs, they take abuse. You know, you charge it 5 to 8 hours in a wall socket. Very simple setup. The board runs for, I think, like 12 miles or something like that. Top speed like 8 miles per hour. So basically, you get about an hour. But it does all right. It seems like it'll be, you know, the idea is it only goes one way, and it's supposed to have a brake, but the brake's not seeming to be that amazing. It does have, the still has the leaning effect, so it can get the turning on it. Again, I don't want to stand out to show you that. But it should still turn. It has about an 8-foot turn radius. Now with the surfboard on top, it might make it a little bit more because you have to translate a little bit more energy into it. The boy itself that's riding this is about 60 pounds, so he's very light, so I'm sure it won't be a problem. But this board originally, as you see the blue flower and the blue pinstripe, this whole section was blue as well, with different designs. And the little boy, though, has orange pants, swim trunks. So I had to make it orange, and then these are basically just vinyl flowers. My mom has this little Cricut machine that does it's like a little CNC machine that cuts out designs, and so we cut out some little flower patterns and just kind of stuck them on. There was a lot of problems with it as far as these actually being sticky enough. We glued them, but then in the hot sun and trying to get a clear coat on it, they started to peel a little bit. It's been a pain in the butt. So I learned a lot from this. Very simple though. You know, just making a few extra dollars to get the last few parts of my robots. So electric skateboard has a surfboard on top for a pageant for a little boy, and when he's done, he gets to rip this surfboard off, and he has a full motorized skateboard underneath. One last thing I forgot to mention is, because it's a pageant, I didn't want the wheels to be exposed underneath there. So what I actually did is I took strips of canvas, I painted them with a blue-green. It might not come out in this camera very nicely. I basically have 2 of these strips, and they're basically to simulate waves underneath. You see the line right here. This is basically where, actually fold it this way, it will be probably stapled and then probably a little bit epoxy lined. And then once I get it attached there and I properly trim it and all that, then I'll go ahead and make these wave lines correspond to the actual direction, so you know it actually has the proper curve to it going from the front to the back. Wow, blurry. And I'll go ahead and make it look great. So that's the last little bit, and hopefully that will make it look good.